Okay. Okay. Hey everyone, Michael here. How you guys doing? Hope everyone is fine and well. So I think that we can give 5 more minutes for people who are running late to join us for the content itself. And for those who don't know me and my company, I give you some background on that. So I am a managing partner and co-founder at Belkins, and Belkins is a lead generation and marketing agency specializing in setting up sales qualified appointment for businesses, for small and mid-sized businesses in the US and in Europe. We have been doing this for the past 4 years. We work with over 150 companies so far. And the reason why we have this webinar today is that over the past 3 years, we have launched hundreds or thousands of different outbound and inbound campaigns. And from the day one, me and the team have been fighting spam every time. And we even have a dedicated team that helps our clients to set up campaigns, to make sure that their email deliverability infrastructure is set up correctly. And then also, we have a team and the platform that we developed that help us to test different mailboxes and domains and warm them up and fix spam and so on and so forth. So we are pretty sophisticated in terms of how we work with email deliverability. Thus, I wanted to have this time with you guys to share with you everything that we learned over the years. Well, probably there will be a more like high-level overview without, there will be some details, of course, but I obviously would need more of these sessions to get in depth with all the details of the process, right? Let's jump right into it, right? Okay, so today we're going to be talking about these 4 key points, right? We're going to be talking about what is email deliverability, email deliverability pitfalls, right? Main reasons why emails end up in spam folder, right? Or common mistakes that companies make with email. And then how do you prevent emails from being caught up by spam filters? And this one is actually very important, right? I will share with you, without watering down, a lot of common mistakes that we've been seeing other companies as well as we did in the beginning of doing this this work, right? So we're going to be talking about those points first, and then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end, probably going to take 15-20 minutes at the end of this, so you can ask me some questions. And then we're going to be recording this, and then I'm going to send you this presentation as well as the recording to your email address. So stay tuned to that. All right, so what is email deliverability? Obviously, it's the process when, someone is sending email, and so there's a sender and there is a recipient, right? But I'm not sure if a lot of you guys realize how complex the process is. How many steps are being taken from the point when you click on send button to the point where your client or your prospect actually receive your emails. So this is a graphic of kind of depiction of the basic process that emails go through from the sender to recipient. So you can see here, you as a sender send out an email, right? The first stage is that there is a DNS record, some technical record that is added to the header of your email on the sending server to kind of authorize the emails, to go out from your domain, right? So nothing fancy, right? Then email itself just began sending out. Then once the email is sent out, it goes first through this standard verification process. First, obviously checking your sending reputation, IP blacklist, but then it goes through this verification process where it checks and extracts and verifies your DKIM record. And I'm going to talk more about these records later on, so no worries about this. So it goes through this set of verification steps, checking your DKIM record, SPF record, applying your relevant DMARC records, and so on and so forth. So this is, this is some sophisticated stuff here. And we've seen that a lot of companies obviously fail, when they don't set up these records correctly. And again, I'm going to talk more about this later on. So after the email went through this process, right, then the software, the program, right, tells you, okay, is everything right there? Yes. Then email is bypassed, right? It let the email go through. If it's not, something is off, right, then the email is quarantined. And if a lot of stuff is off, then the email is rejected, right? So when the email is bypassed, right, then it goes through another stage of verification, standard spam testing that goes through spam filters and different, based on different email service provider. And if everything is fine there, then your email is delivered. If not, right, if your email is quarantined or if your email is rejected, then it goes to rejected report. So then the rejected report is being sent to a sender. And you also will have this record of the error being added to the database of spam filter, so that the next time, or if you send another email, then the filter will already know that there was a problem with this, this, and this. So it probably will not let your email go through again, right? So this is the basic email deliverability process, okay? And so we've seen that many companies and many folks fail in this process because of this kind of three main pitfalls, right? Because of spam filters, because of email placement based on different ESP, and ESP is email service provider, for those who don't know, and because of the wrong technical DNS settings, right? So I put all of that on one slide just because these three items here, right, they are equally important in terms of identifying the problem of your email deliverability and making sure that this email deliverability is fixed or works correctly, right? So starting with spam filters, right? So this is the, so by the way, this is the breakdown of what we're going to be talking about. So with spam filter, with regard to spam filter, we're going to be talking about sending reputation, different spam words, email contents, and blacklist. In terms of email placement by ESP, we're going to be talking about why there is a lot of different ESPs and how would that affect your email deliverability. And then we're going to be talking more technical stuff, more juicy stuff, right, about different DNS settings. And I'm not a technical person myself, so I will try to explain everyone with simple words, so that for everyone who is at home and who have an access to their domain hosting panel, they can go ahead and fix and check and verify that their settings are correct, okay? All right, so starting with the spam filter. So what is spam filter, right? So spam filter, right, we already talked about this. So consists of sending reputation, right? And what is sending reputation? So you see the definition here on the screen, right? But simply it's a score, or it's an identificator that shows how reputable your domain, your IP, your whole infrastructure is, and that it decides whether your recipient wants to receive your email because of your sending reputation or not. And sending reputation depends on four kind of items, right? The foundation of sending reputation. It's the amount of emails that you're sending every day, every week, every month, right? Or overall. So then how many recipients mark the organization's email as spam, right? And how often the organization emails hit the ISP spam trap, right? So how many problems and how often you have those problems, and how many recipients open, reply, and forward your email. So what is the engagement level there? And all of those four items here are equally important to calculate the overall sending reputation scoring. And there are many companies out there, and we also developed our own scoring based on how we feel each of those items is important, right? Obviously, to the overall scoring of your kind of sending score or your sending reputation, you can add other factors, but these four are the most important, right? So if you have good sending reputation, right? Usually, if we calculate the sending reputation at the score of, let's say, 100, then your good reputation will be between 85 to 100 points, right? So it's good. So it means that you will rarely hit the spam folder, and most of your emails will be delivered to the recipients' inboxes. Talking about risky, right? So if, for example, you exceed your number of emails that you send per day, right? Or you 10% or 15% of your emails were marked as spam by some of your recipients, then your sender score might go down, or your sending reputation, sorry, may go down to, let's say, 70, 75, or 65. And we consider this to be a risky. So it means that some of the emails that you will be sending will be stopped by some of the spam filters and firewalls, and then your emails will not be, they will not let your emails pass through. That is why when you use a tool, right, and you see always that this is the risky sending score or medium or something, and it's yellow, usually it's highlighted in yellow, right? It means that some of your emails that you will be sending will not be delivered to your recipient. And then when we talk more about email placement, you would know which exactly emails for which email service provider will not be delivered, right? And then, so good is between 85 to 100 points, right? Risky is about, let's say, 65 to 80 points. That's average. And spam is everything that below 60 points, right? And you can say that either it's 60 out of 100 emails are delivered or 60 points, but at the end of the day, it's still bad for your business, right? Because you want to maximize this deliverability. You want each of your emails hit the prospect's inbox. Okay. All right. So talking about spam words. So you all know what spam words are. I bet everyone who is in marketing and sales used a spam words, even not realizing that this is a spam word. And right, even thus far, we've seen that there are companies that before sending some of their content out, they don't check their content to see how many spam words it contains, right? And here I put a list of 200-ish most popular spam words. And you can see we even highlighted some of those, like cheap, or double your income, or free membership, or like guaranteed. Everyone is using guaranteed word, right? Or not spam, right? New customers only, urgent, right? Obviously, and there are like 700-ish of those right now. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have any of those words. It just means that you need to try to rephrase, and you try to use other words, those that were not marked as spam in common sense, so that you can increase your email deliverability. But at the end of the day, right, you guys can use one or two of those words. It's okay. You just, you need to try to eliminate those words at the end of the day, and you need to use different tools that can simply Google. Some of those are free, that could give you an idea of what content in your email is considered to be spam. Okay. Going to email contents. So email contents are key components which makes up an email, like header, text, design, footer, signature, all of that. And why we added this part as important part, because at the end of the day, spam filters are triggered by the way your content is structured within an email. So for example, I put here two types of email, right? Inbound email and outbound email. For the inbound email here, I mean some nurturing emails that you're sending out for your subscribers, like newsletters, digest, updates about your company, all of that. Usually this email should consist of some imaging, right? So it should be HTML based, right? It's the rule of thumb usually. Then it needs to contain at least 40% text and 60% design. That should be a ratio, right, between text and design. Then it usually includes links. There's a company address there and subscribe button, right? So when you look at this, right, you can kind of imagine a newsletter, for example, and it should has a structure. So if you see that some of those is missing, for example, there is no unsubscribe button, right? It means that the spam filters are that sophisticated these days that they will tell when they will be receiving and analyzing your email. They will tell in a second that, okay, something is off with this email, right? There's no unsubscribe button, so probably it's a spam, right? So we're not gonna let this email to go through. The same goes with your company address, right? So you should have that. But the point is the following. So this is the structure of the inbound email that usually the folks are sending out. If you look at this column here, the outbound email, it's totally different, right? So it's a plain text only. So it's a plain text-based email, no HTML, no fancy stuff, right? It's a purely 100% text, no design, right? There are no links here, a simple signature, obviously company address, and a subscribe button, yes or no. And I'm going to talk more about this in a second. So the difference between these two email contents forms is that the type of the email that you are trying to send, right? If this is the inbound email, it means that prospect usually has authorized you to send out these emails to you because he or she wants to receive an updates from your company or newsletters. Obvious, right? Opposite to this, the outbound emails or unsolicitation is usually the cold emailing that you're sending to your folks. And again, we are doing this, right? So nothing is wrong about cold emailing. It's a very effective channel to generate leads, but we've seen that a lot of companies fail in this channel just because they don't keep their content forms intact. So we've talked to some companies that are using outbound email HTML type based. So they basically send like newsletter to the database that they purchased from a vendor, right? Or they scraped out from the internet. All right, and that's the first red flag that that you will be sure end up in spam, like 100%, right? The same goes with, for example, with the inbound emails. Like if you do 80-90% design and only 10-15% text because you think like, well, my emails need to be entertaining, right? Like I put videos, I put links, I put attachments, I put a lot of very beautiful stuff there. But at the end of the day, because a lot of those elements in the email have a kind of a large size elements, like in kilobytes, when you can measure the size of the email, it will also trigger the spam filter, and it will not let through. And that is why the rule of thumb is 40% text, 60% design, and that works. The same goes with links. I mean, listen, when you send out an outbound email and you attach a link to your email address, there is a very good chance that your email will not be delivered to recipient's inbox just because the links, they increase the size of the email. And also a lot of ESPs have their setup where they will not allow third-party emails to go into their emailing infrastructure, emailing circle, if they have any links that are not leading to, for example, the website, their website, the company's website, and so on and so forth. So that is why, obviously, I'm going to talk more about the links later on when we're going to be talking about what are the best practices to increase the email deliverability. So no links for sure, okay? And then blacklists, right? So there are hundreds of the blacklists, right? And the blacklist is a database, essentially, when either it's automatically or manually, your company name is added. So you can imagine there is a lot of lists and the databases with the millions and billions of different addresses. And some of them are more reputable that a lot of the spam filters, once they're developed, they also are accessing those blacklists to get information, kind of pinging the blacklist saying that, hey, do you have Belkins.io in the list? No, cool, okay, that's the good website. If you have, then wow, okay, that if you have that, then we'll not let the emails to be delivered, right? I put here 25 most popular blacklist names for your reference. So you can use some of the tools that I'm gonna list for you at the very end of the presentation, and you can see maybe you are one of those blacklists. Okay. All right. And then before I go to the next part, talking about the email placing, I wanted to kind of launch a quick poll for you guys. So I wanted to understand what are your email deliverability challenges, right? What are you facing every day by sending out emails? And I'm going to give you a minute to answer this poll. All right, I just put it on real quick. Please go to the poll section. You should see a pop-up on your screen, and please tell me more about your challenges, right? So some of those challenges are: my email is being blacklisted, going to spam, right? My response rate are declining. I need to improve my campaign. Right? I would like more visibility into my IP. My brand is being phished or spoofed, right? I want to implement my best practices, or none of the above. So so there are 20 more seconds. Please go to the poll section here in Zoom and let me know where you guys are with your email deliverability. All right, 20 more seconds, guys. Okay, there are a few more people that didn't vote. Please go, guys, and let me know where you guys are with your email deliverability. Okay. All right, so here are some results, right? So 38%, my email is being blacklisted, going into spam, right? My response rate are declining, 38%. I need to improve my campaign performance, right? I would like more visibility to my IP. I want to implement best practices, 42%. Good stuff. Okay, thank you guys. All right, so going to, guys, if you have any questions, just drop the questions in the chat and we're gonna be going through them during the Q&A time. As I said, we're gonna have 15, 20 minutes at the end for me to answer your questions. All right, so talking about email placement, I've mentioned on the very beginning of this webinar that email placement plays a very important role in email deliverability. And the reason for that is that different ESPs, different email service providers, have their own rules in terms of do they want your email to be delivered to them or not. And based on the certain rules of specific ESP, you can, for some of those, your email can be delivered, and for some of those, the email will not be delivered. And for you, it's important to understand which ESP you have a problem with, so that you can address that problem with a specific ESP and not being frustrated that, oh, I have overall problem, even though you can be having a problem with Gmail or Outlook only, right? And so here's the thing, right? When you go through this all deliverability process, right, and your email is delivered, at the end of the day, every of those ESPs have their own spam filter and email placement. Email placement, I mean which part of the mailbox your email is delivered, right? So the email can go either to the inbox, either to spam folder, or can land in the updates folder. And obviously your goal is to get to the inbox. And if it goes to spam or updates, well, usually marketing emails are going to updates folder, and it sucks because I personally receive hundreds of emails every day to my updates folder and I never check them. So the chance that I will open up an email is very, very small. And but I check and make my inbox clean every day before I go to bed, for example. So that is why it's important to get to the inbox. And so talking about different ESPs, we've seen that usually people that are sending out emails have problems with 3 ESPs, right? Gmail, G Suite, and Outlook. And these are 3 most popular ESPs that are out there. And for example, when you check your email deliverability to see which sending reputation you guys have, right? And you've seen that you have 70 out of 100, and you say like, well, it's not good, it's risky, I have some problem. Well, actually it's not that. So then after you identify your sending score, you need to check where those 30 points went to, right? What are the ESPs that are black flagging your or red flagging your email deliverability? Usually it's Gmail, right? Within the last 2 years, Gmail was just, killing it. It's blocking a lot of, a lot of emails, even though there could be no solicitation. It's just a regular email that you go to customer and it's black, right? So what we recommend here is for you to check which ESPs are being used by your customers. So usually when you have a list of customers with their emails, you can use a tool that checks the email to see if there's a bounced email or it's a valid email, right? And when they do this kind of checking process, they will also tell you, because they will be pinging servers of that ESP, and they will tell you which ESP the customer of your use. And then when you see that the majority of your customers are using Outlook, for example, and when you go to your report of your deliverability and you see that you have 70 out of 100, but those 30 points went to Gmail spam, right? So you were marked as spam on Gmail, but then your customers have Outlook. So it doesn't matter for you, right? If you still can communicate effectively with your customers, even though you were red flagged by Gmail. So obviously you can address the problem with Gmail. However, it wouldn't affect your business because your business relies on Outlook. And that's a very interesting insight here, because a lot of people that we talked with, they said that they had problems with email deliverability, even though they didn't understand which specific ESP they have problem with. And this is something that you definitely need to figure out to move on with your email deliverability, because at the end of the day, you will always or very often have a problem with some ESP, with some filters. That's the way it works, right? But you just need to understand which ESP for your business is important and try to talk to that ESP and fix that ESP. And there are a lot of information on that on our blog. And we have a how-to guides on how to fix a certain ESP. We have a help center about this, so you can go and check it out. But my point here is that you need to address the email placement by a specific ESP and not necessarily to try to fix all of that, okay? All right, so I have this poll here that will tell me which ESP you guys use. So let me put it on real quick as well. And please go ahead one more time and tell me which ESP you guys use. And I have your email addresses. So after this webinar, I will email you how to fix your email deliverability for your ESP specifically. So let me know what your ESP is so I can send you relevant information, okay? All right, we have 30 more seconds for that. Okay, all right, thank you guys, all right. All right, so we have results here. So we have most of the folks, 60% of people are on G Suite, and we have 17% on Outlook, and we have Gmail. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Then going to more technical stuff. So talking about email durability, it's worth mentioning that most of the problems that folks have with email durability lies on the surface. So the problem is in settings, and we've seen that over and over and over again. And for you to fix those settings, it takes, I don't know, like 30 minutes, 1 hour to figure it out, or to have someone like my company to go to come in and fix that. But then it will, solve most of your problems. And so the DNS are the records that are being set when you are setting up your domain. When you just buy a domain, just purchase the domain, and you go to your hosting admin panel, and you have those fancy boxes there with a lot of information, you need to set some records up there. And if you set them correctly and you update them regularly based on how you're changing your email durability, then you will be okay. And there are 4 records here that are very important for email durability: SPF record, the KIM record, the mark, and BIMI. And we're going to talk right now about all of those. So talking about the SPF record. So the SPF is the Sender Policy Framework, or SPF. It is an email authentication method designed to detect forged sender addresses. But long story short here, this record is essentially going to authorize the tool that you're using for sending out emails to use your domain name and to use your ESP. So as an example, this is the SPF that we have at Belkin's, right? And this is an example of a correct SPF setup. And you can see here that we have google.com here, right? It means that our ESP is Google. So we authorized our Google, our G Suite, to use our domain name to send out emails from that G Suite. Also, we have some tools like reply.io, MedDrillUp, and we use these tools as well to send out emails. So my point here is this: it's important for you to have all the tools that you are sending out your emails through in your SPF, and all of those tools have their own SPF records, so you need to add them here so that you authorize those tools to use your domain to send out emails from. And here you'll see some of the very common mistakes of incorrect SPF. So for example, you have this record here, right? And it's missing include, right? So the wording is off, and it's not a correct record because of that. The same goes with this one. For example, you have your Google SPF here, and then you have your Outlook. And it's wrong, right? Because you can authorize only one ESP to use. So you should try to stick to one SPF record per ESP, so that it will not create a conflict anywhere between kind of that complex process of sending out emails. The same goes with other problems that folks have. For example, they have too many records. We recommend our customers to have at least 3 records as the rule of thumb, or 3 to 4. Because if you have more than that, that will create a lot of conflict in the code, and that would definitely harm your email durability. So try to stick to 3 to 4, okay? And also try to have a very nice script record here. So there are a lot of examples out of the internet that will tell you what is the right way to set up this record for you guys, okay? Or I can send you this information after the webinar. The second very important record is the KIM, or Domain Keys Identified Mail. It is an email authentication method. Essentially, it's also set up through your domain hosting panel. And this key you can generate from your ESP. So when you set up your domain, they ask you to go to your ESP, copy from the setting this code, and that's how it looks. It's a huge code, right? And a lot of folks, they have this record missing, right? So you need to make sure that you have that record. Okay, moving on to the mark, right? Another record, super important. And why it's important? Because it actually one of the records that tells whether that works for you internally, and it tells whether someone who's sending out emails from your domain have the right to send out those emails. And if not, then those emails can be blocked. So for example, we use, for example, when I set up my Spf record for Google, then it means that I authorize my domain to use to send out emails through Google, right? If I don't authorize this, then and then I have the mark record, for example, set up none. It means that I will not have a filtration. So all the emails that I will have will be blocked by Google. So I would need to have a filtration that will say, like, the rule of thumb for filtration is quarantine, for example, or rejected. It means that if I have a problem with someone sending out emails from my mailbox, right, it's still, the emails will still gonna go through, but I will receive an email notification to my DMARC address, and you can see that you can set up this DMARC address here, saying that, hey, if there's a problem, send a report to this email address without just rejecting. Because if you put this reject or none or something, it means that, you know, here with none, by the way, your emails will not be stopped, but with reject, the emails will be stopped. And sometimes the reject is a basic kind of common record that most folks have. Okay. And then BIMI, it's a new record, just came out. A lot of folks don't have it. It's still in kind of testing phase, but we recommend, and we ourselves put the record already. So it's an industry-wide effort to use brand logos as an indicators to help your recipients to recognize your brand and avoid fraudulent messages. We've seen that 90-ish% of folks still missing this record, but it affects email deliverability. So it actually makes your brand recognizable and your sending reputation higher. So I really recommend you to go ahead and set up this record right away. This is the example of a good record. I put here one of the mistakes that folks have is that the record must be in the logo. When you're going to be setting up the record, it will ask you to upload your logo, and usually they will not tell you, or you just miss to seeing which format of the logo you need to upload. And so you can upload this format or PNG or others, but it will ask you only as SVG format. So you need to make sure that it's the right format of the imaging. Okay. All right, so we have kind of 20 more minutes, right? So I quickly go for 5-7 minutes common mistakes, and then we can talk about, and then we can go into the Q&A. Okay. All right, so common mistakes that folks have, right? Incorrect setup, poor list, low engagement, IP and mailboxes are not warmed up, email structure or email contents are off. So incorrect setup. What is about the setup, right? Your DNS settings are missing or not set up or set up incorrectly. That's what I've been just talking with you about. It's a very important thing for you to fix before you move on with fixing other stuff in your email deliverability. Your marketing tools were selected incorrectly. That's also a common problem. I mean, for example, I know that a lot of folks are using HubSpot for outbound, and HubSpot is CRM system, but the HubSpot wasn't designed to have a nice email deliverability. It's specifically for outbound purposes. And we've seen that a lot of times the HubSpot emails are being stopped or flagged by spam filters. So we recommend, for example, for outbound to use some tools like reply.io or outreach.io or Mailshake or any tools that were designed specifically for outbound marketing purposes. And the HubSpot can be used for the inbound, for example, when you launch your newsletters or keep your customers posted, right? Another point here is the settings for your marketing tools are missing email delay, signatures, so on and so forth. So sometimes when you set up this marketing tool that works well with your email, a lot of folks are missing some basic settings like, for example, there should be a delay between your cold emails when you send them out. We recommend and we stick to about 200 to 250 seconds between emails, so that I send one email and then in 3 or 4 minutes I send another email. The tool sends another email. A lot of those tools that we use, they recommend like 60 seconds, like one email. We've seen that it's not enough, but there are some times that you just off and you put 0 because, well, why don't I need to wait before my second email goes out, right? And it's important for you to wait. The same goes with signature or address or unsubscribe button, right? So you're missing those, and that could also harm you. And then you say, well, but I have my signature in my email address. Well, you also need to have that in your email marketing tool, because they are sending out emails not directly from your mailbox kind of interface. They use the servers, and it's like a backdoor or something. So you need to set up that email tool as well. So the incorrect setup is one of the reasons, one of the common mistakes that folks make. Poor list. You would be surprised by the list and the database that, or your subscribers quality is also very important for the spam filters to kind of understand whether you have a nice sending reputation or not. And you remember I've mentioned during my first, when I started about the email deliverability process, one of that processes, the very important one, the standard verification process, basically involves the emails that are rejected or quarantined. And all of those rejected and quarantined messages are being stored in the database, which makes the more bounced emails you have, bounced email is basically the rejected email. So the more bounced email you have, the more records you have stored. So the chance that your reputation will go down and you will not be kind of bypassed by spam filters is much higher. So what we recommend, right? We recommend that your bounce rate should be not more than 10%. We usually stick to 2-3% because we want to have high durability, right? But I mean, if you have less than 10%, okay, all right. But if it's more than 10%, then you guys might have a problem. Outdated database, right? I've mentioned that one of the key factors for sending reputation is where some of your customers will mark your email as spam. And if you have outdated database, it means that it's outdated or it's not targeted according to your ideal customer profile. So folks who will be receiving your emails will say, well, it's someone's solicitation. I don't want this. It's not relevant for me. Mark as spam, mark as spam, mark as spam. So you need to have very targeted, updated database to make sure that you send your emails only to folks or to people that needs to see your email, that they can get a value from those emails. The same goes with no double opt-in, right? When you send some on solicitation, you usually do this very targeted, like a drip campaign, when you send like 50 emails. Sometimes you need to have a double opt-in list, sometimes don't. But when you send an inbound, for example, and you transferred your company brand from one domain to another, so I basically, we use belgians.io as our main domain. And then I was acquired, or my company was acquired by other company, right? And they take my list of subscribers and start sending out emails from that list. That's kind of okay. But if you purchase that list for somebody and want to start sending out some newsletters and you don't have the double opt-in record for your company, then it's bad. So the quality of the list and the list itself is very important for email deliverability and for measuring your sending reputation. Low engagement. This one is very interesting, and we figured this one out some time ago, but we were failing this one for sure during our first weeks and months of the work. So what we did, when you wanted to keep up the limits, right? When I said that you should to kind of have some kind of limits in terms of you sending out emails, like you can send like 100 emails or 150 emails or something. And I'm going to talk more about this in my next slides. But basically, you use several mailboxes. I mean, when you do outbound marketing, right? You send like, you have 5 mailboxes, 10 mailboxes that you have. You split your database like 500 leads per mailbox, and you send out those emails. And then usually, you don't want to have the hustle to go and log into every mailbox and enter the email. So you auto forward all of those incoming emails to one mailbox, to your main one. So you're managing your main one mailbox, and then you're sending out emails from those additional mailboxes that you set up specifically for the campaign purposes. And what we've seen is that if you have a low engagement level on those sending mailboxes, you'll end up in spam, because the filter will tell that, well, okay, there are some emails that are sending out, but there are no replies back, or there are no engagements there. So people are not replying. Storing, marking these emails is important, forwarding that email, which is why we recommend to send out emails. If you send out emails from multiple mailboxes, stick also to responding from those mailboxes to email, creating engagements, and that would affect your email deliverability, right? Copy is poorly written, right? Okay, you say, hey, I have a targeted database, right? I have a good setup, my DNS are okay, but then your copy is poorly written. You don't have clear value proposition. It feels like, like you have spam words in your copy, right? And your audience will not engage with that copy. So, you would need to, you probably can pay top dollar to some agency, or just spend yourself some time and Google and craft some nicely written messages and emails, rather than creating a poor, fast graded copy, and then, and then have problems with your campaigns. And then no CTA, right? So if you want engagements, you need a CTA, right? A call to action. So if you don't have a clear call to action, then how the people will know that they need to respond to an email? I mean, if you just state some facts in your email and that's it, and then you do not get any engagements. So you need to tell your prospect what to do next. Do you want them to give you some feedback? Do you want to get them on the call? Do you want, maybe you ask them whether or not they want you to send more information, so they would say, sure, send me, or something like this. So engagement is also very important, as sum up here. And then IP and mailbox should be warmed up, right? So when you set up a new mailbox, you always say, hey, okay, so I want to have this designated mailbox for my marketing efforts, and here is the mailbox, Michael, use this one, right? Usually the newly set up mailboxes don't have that sending reputation yet. So when you bump them up with 200 emails per day, they definitely end up in spam. So we recommend gradually get to the point when you can have those limits met, but you need to start with 10 emails, 20 emails, 50 emails, and then gradually grow up to 200 emails where you will not be harming your reputation. So you need to warm up your mailbox and your IP. And how you warm them up, right? It's an interesting question. There are multiple ways for that. So there are some tools, some email marketing tools that have that functionality included, so that you can warm up your mailbox. But we've seen that this is not a very effective way. So they don't have a very effective warming up process. They just send some emails out every day and that's it. So it's not very effective. You can manually do this, right? So if you have, you have 100 people within your company, and you create new mailbox, you send 100 emails to your colleagues and ask them to respond back, right? And you can just kind of increase that day every day. Or you can use some tools, like we actually developed the platform Folderly, and I'm going to be talking that at the end of our session. Our tool actually was designed to warm up emails and fix spam. But anyhow, all right. So I'm sorry, I have 10 more minutes. I just have so much stuff for you guys to share with you. So moving on, email structure is off. I already told you, right, about emails that there are some emails that include links, and for outbound, you shouldn't include links. Some folks are sending attachments. You shouldn't be sending attachments if it's an unsolicitation or something. A lot of design work, right? So 100% or 80% graphic, 20% text, should be 40-60 or 100% text, and using large email signature. I am a fan of putting all this stuff in my signature, like our rewards, our links to webinars, some logos, all that stuff. And it's bad, especially from the outbound standpoint. So you need to minimize your signature to have only the most important information: your name, your title, your email, your phone, your address, and right, and your company name, and that's it. No fancy stuff there. Okay, so how do you prevent emails from being caught by spam filters, right? So your setup, engagement tools, use only the tools that are relevant for your type of email marketing. Set up your DNS records. Use only targeted list. make sure that you have minimum bounce rate, like 3%, 4%, 5%, right? And there are tools to measure this. Use only relevant content. If you use outbound marketing, if you want to do outbound marketing, do only plain text. For outbound marketing, no links, no attachments, low email file size. If you do outreach, warm up your mailbox, warm up your IP, send messages directly or answer emails directly from the mailbox that you create engagements from, and consider email sending limitations. So every email address have their limits. You cannot send, well, depending on the way you send out emails, but if we're talking about the outbound marketing and cold emailing, you should stick to a certain number of emails sent per day per mailbox. As I've said, we recommend up to 200 emails per day per mailbox. It could be on up to 150 emails, but not more. If you're sending emails through different email servers, like there are tools like Maildrill or Mailgun that sends thousands of emails, because you can say, hey, Mike, I have 500,000 list subscribers. What do I do then? Well, you will not send those emails directly through the mailbox. You will use a tool that connects with your domain directly, and then they will be sending out emails through their servers. So then you can have that high volume of emails. Okay, so I'm gonna send this over to you guys so you can keep this in mind and follow these recommendations here to make sure that you will not be ending up in spam folder. And then I wanted to talk with you about different tools that are out there that kind of would help you to test your domain, test your DNS, test your ASP, blacklist, warm up your domain, spam fix, do consulting work, all of that. But we don't have time for that. So if someone is interested to talk more about those tools and which one I recommend, this one we developed, actually, we did the competitors analysis first. We wanted to address all of those points, and we were successfully able to do this. We are just rolling this tool out to the market, so we are collecting early users. So for those who are interested to try this solution, just ping me, and I'll be happy to provide you with an access. As those who wants to learn more about those tools, again, send me an email. I'll be happy to talk to you guys and send you more information, okay? All right, so Q&A session, guys. So there's a QA kind of window. Ask your question by clicking the question button below, okay? So talk to me, ask me questions. So I'm opening up the chat box here. All right. So yes, we are recording it as if we are recording this webinar, and we will be sending this to you, okay? So how do you know about, okay. I don't know anything about Razor. I've never used this tool, and let me write this down and I will use it or Google it. Someone wrote that there are more than 800 words. Yes, there are more than 800 spam words right now. There are different sources. We use multiple sources to actually kind of see the overall landscape of all the spam words. Oh, someone wasn't able to see the poll. I'm sorry for that. How can I check email reputation on G Suite? There are some tools. I've mentioned these tools in my previous slide. You can Google any of those tools. There are some free tools. There are some paid tools. There are some consulting companies, but every one of those will be able to help you to check your email reputation on G Suite. And you can contact me, and I can give you a hand with this, and we can, we can fix this. First of all, thanks. Are the best practices different for startup? Yes and no. I think that I addressed most of these problems for startups and for small and mid-sized businesses. To be honest with you, I don't know how the stuff works for enterprise companies, because we did have experience working with a few. But you know how it works, right? With large companies, they have thousands of different tools and processes and platforms and hundreds of the people managing those. So sometimes it's a mess. So I think that they have their own developed infrastructure for these purposes. Okay. Razor is the level of confidence mentioned by mail tester very often. I'm always confused with it. Oh, okay. Listen, I think we are using mail tester, just one of the tools or one of the things that we want to look at, just to make sure that other tools are telling the truth. but I've never myself seen the razor. And again, I rarely use mail tester myself. I have a team for that. Okay, part of our onboarding new clients is we confirm they updated their SPF document DMARC settings and have them within it. Great. So we see Lydia here that knows about this stuff and help their clients. That's great. So DMARC stands for, you know, it's a good question. I always kind of don't remember this, but you know, I can quickly, you know, open this up here. So we have, so DMARC stands for, okay, listen, I didn't put this in my, so we have 4 more minutes while I'm answering another question. Let me kind of Google this one, okay? Can we use a link in the second email? Would you recommend using Woodpecker? How much does folderly cost? Do you use unique valuables, so-called snippets besides the regular first name? Do you both send valuables? Okay, all right, so yes, you can use links. We recommend you to ask your customers whether you want to send some information to them or not. But if you send second, third email, then that's okay. You can include the link. Just make sure that you're not including the link for your first email. Would you recommend using Woodpecker? Yes and no. I've heard a lot of bad feedback about this tool, so I wouldn't say that we are using them ourselves, but we use Outreach and Reply.io, and we are pretty satisfied with those tools. How much does the folder cost? We charge per mailbox and for different packages. So the one mailbox maintenance and spam fixing and all the fancy stuff cost up to $200 per month. 10 mailboxes like 1,000, like 800, and then 50 mailboxes are something about $2,000 per month. Yes, you can use multiple variables in your emails. So that was the question. So how many variables I can use in my email template? As many as you can, because the more personalized the email is, the more chance you have to pass through the spam filter, and also your customers to engage with your email, right? Because the email then relevant, it shows that you did your homework. For HTML-based emailers, what do you think is the best way to embedded images? I'm asking this because Outlook by default do not allow auto download of images. True, emailers doesn't like fancy without the images being downloaded. It's so true. Listen, I didn't work with Outlook myself. I'm a Google fan, so I use G Suite, and they can embed. You have some different extensions to your Google Chrome that you can use to kind of embedded your images. But I think that you can try using different tools like MailChimp, right? They help you to craft nice HTML-based emails. Do you offer trial period for your service folderly? Yes, we have a free trial where we can take a look at your infrastructure. We can analyze what problems you guys have, and then we can send you a simple email saying that what the hell is going on there and what do you need. And then if you want us to fix this, right, then obviously you can pay for that for the time of my folks. But when we can tell you whether or not you have any problems. And when we rolled out the final version of the product very soon, we have our team of engineers working on that. Then we will be able to give you a 7-day trial. So you can, even during the 7 days, try to fix your spam. And if that works, then you can continue using this software as the subscription-based product. Outreach and which tool? Outreach.io and reply.io. reply.io. They are very similar in a way, but just I know that reply.io is based out of Canada and Outreach is based out of San Francisco. So, but they're probably similar. How to be subscribed to be the first in the list of 7 days trial? Send me an email saying that, hey, send me an access to the trial, and we're going to be sure to include you in the list, or go to our website and click on get an early access, put your email down, and we're going to be sure to include you there as well. Thank you, Michael. All right. Okay, guys, so we're out of time. It's been an hour. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. We have other questions here. Okay, all right. So what can you say about Snow.io? I know that my research team are using Snow.io, and they've been successful using this product. I think for lead discovery or lead qualification, something like this. But as far as I know, it's been great for them. Are you using Outreach, and which tool, please? Yes, we use Outreach. We use Reply.io. Audrey, I already spelled out you the name of the tool. Okay, folks, so let's wrap up for today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I have your email addresses, so I'll be sure to send you this recording and the presentation as the follow-up. And yeah, let me know, send me an email, let me know. My email address is michael@belkins.io. Let me put on my screen real quick and all right, so this is my email address, michael@belkins.io. This is my phone number. You guys let me know if you have any questions, if you have, and then if you want me to have another webinar talking about other stuff, about email drivability, sales development, SDR, any stuff that I know a lot of, let me know and I'll be happy to set up another webinar. Right now, we don't have plans for other webinars in the next few weeks, but we don't know. Maybe the next few weeks I'm gonna release another webinar. So stay tuned. And yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time. You have a good one now, folks. All right, take care. Bye-bye.